Welcome back once again. This is Stu from Plan Manage Assist, and this is TLDR, Too Long Didn't Read. On today's episode, we've got Voula from Lift Off Early Intervention talking about ways that we can assist families in the earliest stages of diagnosis.
I've got an expert here, Voula from Lift Off Early Intervention. Voula, how are you going?
Good, thanks. Yourself?
I am doing swimmingly well. Thank you so much for asking. So what I want to talk about today is because Lift Off have that early intervention points, they're really talking about working with kids and those families, particularly in those earliest stages where families, especially if it's their firstborn and especially if it's their first child, and it can be so impactful for those families. And so talk us through some of those things that sort of really can cause issue, or maybe some of those issues that you've seen with families that come through.
Yeah, look, being in the early intervention space, we get a lot of first-time parents of children with disabilities. So they do come to us quite lost, and they're really upset and they don't know what path to take, where to go and what to do. So we see a lot of that social isolation in the beginning because they're concerned that if others around them find out. So we sort of become that counsellor inadvertently and sort of try and help them through that journey and make them understand that a diagnosis doesn't define their child.
So how do we go about sort of helping those parents understand that, as you said, it's not defining them as a person, it's not defining their child, but it's just one part of their life that they are going to be facing, but how to get past from denial into accepting support?
I guess what we do is really sort of hold their hand through the journey, let them know that we're there to collaborate with them to help support them as a family unit, just not the participant that's walking through our doors. We basically try and empower them by building their capacity through just very simple, minuscule strategies that we use in therapy that we know are quite effective. And we just reiterate to them that your child is loved regardless of a diagnosis or not. They will achieve, they will progress, they will have an amazing life. And it's all about perspective and their perception, really.
It really is.
So once they have that understanding that if they perceive their child as a child with a diagnosis that has no future, then that child's going to live up to that.
It does mean that as parents, we do need to accept that there is help out there and that Lift Off can provide that type of help and support. And so I know we talked briefly about that capacity building, but what are some of the ways that Lift Off already do support parents specifically? Yes, but in terms of the parents themselves, what does that capacity building support look like?
So it's obviously a positive interrogation because they're the expert on their child. So when they come in, they know that we're genuinely interested in what they're bringing to the table. So it's all about getting opposite them, coming down to their eye level, being highly animated if they've got a non-verbal, noticing objects, but also noticing people, because if you're not noticing people, you're not aware of people around you, then the communication breakdown is quite big.
Absolutely.
So teaching them to just use one word instructions instead of a sentence if their child is nonverbal, if their child is speaking in one word, using 2-word instructions. So using that one-up rule.
So always looking to what's next for that child and helping them move to that next level. What those progressive steps are in terms of how they're going to get from one point to another. And I know as well, Lift Off, you guys do something for the mums and getting them together. And that's and so tell me a bit more about what that looks like. And this is more for parents that are out there that maybe don't necessarily feel supported or maybe feel very much on their own. So what is something that Lift Off do there?
So this Mums Matter is what we've branded it, and it stemmed from one conversation we had with a mother. So I decided to try and build a community. We invite all the mums, past and present, to just join us.
So even the mums where the kids have graduated.
Or, have moved on, just to come and have some me time, some mum time without children. It's just been a really lovely process to watch and be a part of.
Absolutely.
So,
but what are the supports once they go through the stages of Lift Off? What happens then for those parents and those children?
So it's all about helping build where those challenges are, but using their strengths to do that. So understanding that every child will have likes and interests. Let's hone in on that and use particular pictures, particular games, etc., to work on the challenges and the gaps that they're still exhibiting.
How does that go with you guys with collaborating with the teachers or with the the department or whoever it is that you need to talk to?
We've also got to work around their timetabling and their scheduling as well. So we've got to be quite flexible and just be able to go in there and really sort of put a face to the Lift Off name, and for them to experience that we're not actually here to judge you. We're here to support the child and yourself. So don't think of us as an added burden in the classroom. We're here to support both the child and the class in general. If a child is, not highly active and is really disruptive in the class, well, then we can give strategies to the teacher that she can hopefully, they can hopefully put into practice to try and alleviate some of those disruptions during the day.
And as you said, it's really interesting to point out that it's not always just about the intervention for that child. It's about that intervention for the environment, for those other children as well, those 18, 20, 29 other children, depending on their age. And that sometimes, sometimes withdrawing them and taking them out and doing something else with them might be a good strategy, or reintegrating, get them to work with that small group. As you said, working collaboratively with the educator or the teacher in the room.
Thank you so much for tuning into part 1. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you back for part 2 next time on Plan Manage This TLDR, Too Long Didn't Read. See you next time.